Welcome back, everyone, to Lesser Known Operators. My guest today is Nick Koumalatsos, a former Marine Raider, an entrepreneur who is tied to brands like Johnny Slicks, Core Medical Group, and he is the host of the Nick Koumalatsos podcast. You can check him out. I will have links to his socials in the show description. Please remember to like, subscribe, share, comment, pass these episodes along. Thank you for listening and enjoy the show. Nick Koumalatsos, welcome to Lesser Known Operators. Thanks for coming on, man.
Happy to be here.
I don't know how it is for you guys, but in the Army, the drill sergeant always seems to be illiterate. Is the same thing in your guys' formation when they butcher your last name? And what variations did you come up with?
Brother, listen, like it's not just the drill instructors. I feel like it's Marines across the board are just illiterate. Like I'm a non-spelling fuck, man. I use the Gary Vee thing. I'm a seller, not a speller. Like it's bad. It's bad. Marine jokes go forever though.
It's really too easy.
It's too
But
easy.
as long as you're accepting of all the jokes, then it's fair play.
You know, the one joke that hasn't, I haven't really, like, I get it. I get the joke, but the whole crayon thing, that was not a thing when I was in.
Okay.
It just
And that
wasn't.
wasn't
And
that
then
long ago.
and then, well, I mean, I've been out for, geez, 13 years now. So, but yeah, I just don't remember it being a thing at all. And then all of a sudden, like a few years ago, we started talking about. I'm like, what color crowns do you eat? I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about. Why would I eat crowns? They're like, you're a
Yeah,
Marine.
it'd be interesting to hear some of the origins of where these things come from, because in our qualification course, there's these legendary myths that get passed
Of
from
course.
student to
Yeah,
student to student.
of course.
And I recently got to the bottom of one just by accident. And I'm like, that's not what we heard in the Q course. That's not even close. So, it's probably, we play the telephone game and
What was
then
it?
it becomes, oh,
What was the myth?
like the myth was this student fell into a snake pit and got bit like 30 or 45 times by a whole den of copperheads or some bullshit. And then I ran into the instructor. I ended up working.
This is something that happens down in Florida, right?
No, I don't. No, it was a water moccasin or something down in the Q course by a river or something.
Okay.
And I ran into, he's civilian. He retired long ago, but he was the cadre, active duty, when that student got bit on the hand trying to fill up his canteen in the creek, and then just didn't make it back to his bag to pop his flare off, and he died.
Oh
Like,
shit.
so, but it changed into this horrible story of falling in a pit at night and being mercilessly attacked by.
Yeah,
But that's just one.
that's a way better story than what the actual story is.
Yeah, or fighting a deer. There was one about fighting and murdering a deer in a draw, also, which that one didn't change much, because from what actually happened to what was told was some guy in a draw ran into a deer that was also stuck in there and fucking killed it. But
Wow.
I digress.
Yeah.
So, Nick, I followed, you popped up on my old page. I've been following you for a while, and you influenced some of the decisions that I've made for my health. And you are working very hard on being successful. But what does the end goal successful look like for you?
So something I learned a long time ago. One, I'm already wildly successful. Um, Two, I don't believe there's a point of arrival anymore. Um, I think a lot of people get caught up in this idea that, oh, when I have this much money, when I have this kind of job, when I've accomplished X, I will then do this or live this way. When the reality is there is no point of arrival. The only point of arrival that you're ever going to have is death. Until then, it's just forward. It's just life moving forward. So I don't think that for me, when it comes to like measuring success, I mean, that could be, that's a broad term for a lot of different people. Um, If I look at the top 4 or 5 priorities in my life, and then I grade them 1 through 4, if I'm a 3 or a 4 on all of my top 4 priorities, then I'm a success. And that typically is and I've done this I've coached people for a long enough now to where I could almost pick people's priorities for them. It's their health, it's their family, it's their finances, and then typically it's their faith. And somewhere, shape, or form of those one of those 4. Now you can drill it down, and it really just comes down to that. And so if you start measuring your life against those, how are you showing up? Are you a success or not? Do you have a great relationship with your kids and your wife? Do you have a great relationship? Do you have your finances under control? You know what I mean? Are you building generational wealth? Are you living beyond your means? Have you established a bare ass minimum? Are you living? Are you investing wisely? What does your health look like? If I look at all of those things, I'm crushing it. But at the end of the day, there's no finish line. There's checkpoints, there's rally points if you want to get real military. But what happens when you accomplish an objective? You just move on to the next mission. Like it never ends. So while one business might get sold or you know I might get replaced, there's always going to be another mission. And I realized that, especially on the veteran, I don't know what your audience is here, but in the veteran community or the first responder community, um, I think that people get hung up on that, right? Their identity gets wrapped around this thing, and then they start getting wrapped around this idea that, okay, I'm going to get this job, and when I get this job, this thing will happen. And the reality is, it's none of that. Like, you just need to have the next mission. Like, what's chapter 2? And then when chapter 2 is done, put a bow on it, write it, turn the fucking page, and start writing chapter 3. But we get hung up in the chapters, especially if we go back to like the military special operations chapter. We have this idea that that might be the best chapter of our lives. So we get stuck in it, and we don't want to become the next version of ourselves.
Yeah, on the teams, we're always chasing. And it's like I ask the question to everybody that comes off the team, like, did you stop and look around and appreciate what you're doing? And it's fucking no
No,
across the board. And I'm starting to think there almost is no way to stop and take a look around because you're so focused on I need to work towards this finishing this school or this promotion or I need to fill this slot so that I can go to on this deployment or get this retrain or all this other shit. So I'm starting to think there fucking was no way because nobody stopped and looked around or even took their phone out of their fucking pocket and took a picture once in a while.
it's funny you say that because that is my number one piece of advice to younger guys. Because like I train with a bunch of guys who are active, and my number one piece of advice to them is, and I think we talked about it yesterday a little bit, was just have fun, man. Enjoy it and have fun. Like you're never gonna be in an environment where you're right. Like for me, like I'm never gonna ride motorcycles out of the back of a helicopter in bad guy land with my friends and guns ever again. That chapter is closed. That was freaking cool. But at the time, it was just what we did.
It was just
It was
work, right?
it was
All
just
this
work,
crazy shit was just normal work, and we
normal work.
discount it as
But
these insignificant things.
but I got so worked up, and I'm a 12-year guy on a team. So I'm an ops chief on the team, and I'm so worked up with the politics and the BS of the community and the command and the operations and all this kind of stuff. And it's hard not to when you've been that long. But if I would have had the mindset now, I would have just been like, this BS has been here way before me. And it's going to be here. Like the stuff that the guys are talking about is the same garbage political horseshit that we were dealing with 13 years ago. And then 13 years before me, even though there wasn't maybe a war going on, they were dealing with the same stuff. So that's going to be a constant. And in your life, there is going to be political BS and whatnot. But if you can't stop and separate yourself from that mentally, and truly enjoy the journey that you're on, because that legitimately is all there is. There's no point of destination. There is nothing. There is no like grand finale. There's no parade at the end. It's just forward. So you have to fall in love with the journey. You have to fall in love with the present and what you have going on. And it doesn't matter how shitty it could be. You have to cherish and fall in love with the present. And that's my one piece of advice to younger guys is like, dude, just fucking enjoy it. Just enjoy it, because it's going to come to an end. You're going to have to do something different eventually. And that's going to be rad. If you do it the right way, then what's next is always cooler. But don't tarnish it, don't lose it, don't, you know what I mean, don't waste it.
And my thought has changed, but I've distilled this down to all the good that I thought I was going to do, or was going to be in uniform, and that dragged on after I was out of uniform. And now I
Yeah,
realize,
yeah.
man, I do a lot of cool shit in a polo, or a t-shirt, or at the gym, or just talking to people on the phone. And you're right, at the macro level, not a lot changes historically. And there's a quote, it's like, as in newspapers in history, only the names and dates change. The actions are exactly the same.
Mhm.
On a long enough timeline, everything keeps repeating itself. So at the micro level, yes, you've got to enjoy these things, recognize what's going on if you're getting in a bad cycle, but enjoy the journey of getting there. Because um, what is that? Jim Carrey said, I wish everybody could get rich and famous so they can see that being rich and famous isn't all that's cracked up to be.
Grass is never green on the other side. Now don't give me a point. Being poor sucks. I've been there,
Oh,
done
yeah.
that. You know what I mean? But then, even then, if I look back at my childhood of being, dirt ass poor, some of the best memories and some of the best stories come out of those times, right? Like I have a very different perspective on life because of that. So, anyways, the whole point to that is you have to fall in love with the journey, and so many people get caught up in what's next, right? And like you said, like when you're serving, it's always what's next, the next workup, the next school, the next deployment, the next thing, and we very rarely just stop and go, damn, this is fucking cool. This is a cool group of guys. It's a cool freaking mission. You know what I mean? Selection's cool. Q course is cool. All the schools are cool. But it's always, we're so mission focused that we're not really actually, stopping to smell the roses, if you will.
Yeah, it's cool, but it's kind of not also, because when you're at group or on a team or wherever you're at, everybody else is done the same shit or more. And oftentimes they've done more than you. So
So,
you, you
but there
just
you go.
become a normal dude.
But that's the problem with comparison right there. Comparison is a thief of joy. You start comparing the others. Here's the deal, man. In life, doesn't matter what you're doing, what unit you're in, where you come from. Your journey is yours alone, and it cannot be compared to anybody else. That's why I like the jiu-jitsu kind of analogies. Is my jiu-jitsu journey from start to finish, whatever that looks like, is 100% identical to no one. It is mine and mine alone. Everything that I learn, the way that I do things, the techniques, the way that I adopt information, the way that I get better, my injuries, my age, my body, every single bit of it is 100% unique to me. And the reality is that's 100% life. Your life is yours alone, even though that, we served in similar capacities. Even if I was a Green Beret and you were a Green Beret and we had the exact same story almost, there would still be drastically different for different reasons. So this idea that we're comparing, oh, I'm not like this Raider, like, or I'm not like this Force Recon guy, or I'm not like this Green Beret, even though I'm a Green Beret. Like, again, you're stacking something that's impossible for you, and you're only going to be left with disappointment if that's the way you look at it.
And the trickle down effect of it, right? Because once you realize I'm never going to be the fastest, strongest, most awards,
No.
best in communication, best at schools, anything. But you're never going to be the best at everything. You're going to try. You're going to fail, but at least if you try to get there. But the trickle down effect of that is what you said. Comparison is imposter syndrome. When guys get out, they're like, "I'm not worthy of my suffering, right? And I'm not going to go get my VA benefits, or I'm not going to put my hand up when I need help, when I really need help. I'm not
Yeah.
going to put my hand up, and I'm just going to take it like I had to do in the military." Well, you're not in the fucking military anymore.
Right.
Nobody gives a shit.
Yeah, the imposter syndrome thing is interesting. I think that we're kind of bred to, what is it? Be the quiet professional, be
We're
humble.
silent is the false message of a silent professional.
Yeah, but the problem with the reality is, do you know who doesn't have imposter syndrome? There's only one type of person that doesn't have imposter syndrome. Only one. You guess what it is? Con artist. A con artist does not have imposter syndrome. They believe their own press. They believe their own bullshit. It's the real dudes. Did you know that Ed Milet, um, who is Tony? Who's the big dude with the why my name's escaping him? His name's escaping me. The big tall dude, the most biggest motivational, life changing speaker in the
Tony
world.
Robbins?
Tony Robbins. Ed Milet, Tony Robbins, my good friend Bedros Koulian, anybody that you talk to, those three right there, I know for a direct fact that they, before they get on stage, they're nervous and they have imposter syndrome. And that wild,
Then it, yeah.
everybody's
Well,
got it, dude.
that says a lot, no, right? It says you're still in touch with what you're doing. It still makes you happy what you're doing
Yeah, but the
because
thing
you
is,
want to just you want to put out a good product. Like when I was on with you yesterday, I felt bad all day because I was like,
I don't.
even if I was 1% down, I was like, man, I just want to have a good product. I want people to to see a good product. But then I made peace with it. I'm like, not every day's a great day, you
Not
know.
every day is a great
So
day. Um, well, I don't know about that. Every day is a great day. You're breathing. Um, I think you can find gratitude in every single day, and I think that's when you start rewiring your brain. Um, Not getting shot at. I got money in the bank. I got people who care about me. I get to have rad, awesome conversations. So even on the worst day, your worst day is better. Not to get in a comparison, your worst day is better than somebody else's day. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, so I do like that. Like, listen, we can have some rough days. I get it. But the reality is we have a choice to make. Like, you can either allow your circumstances and the thoughts that are in your head to own you, right? Or we can be in full control of our life. I can choose to be in control of my thoughts. I can choose to be in control of of things that I'm grateful for. I am not a victim of my mindset. I'm not a victim in any way, shape, or form. So I get to choose the feelings that I get to have. And people are like, nah, that's not true. Yes, it is. You can make a fucking choice not to be an asshole. If you're being an asshole, that means internally you are not in control of your emotions. Like, yes, we all have these like range of emotions, but at the end of the day, I'm a man enough to go, okay, I'm going to take a minute, I'm going to take a breath, and I'm going to choose not to respond shitty to my wife. I'm going to choose not to respond like the circumstances don't, I'm not a victim of circumstance. Just because somebody cuts me off or the waiter doesn't do something or, something happens while I'm traveling, cool. But that thing doesn't get me to react a way that I don't choose to react to. Like, I get the choice. And We have freedom of choices. We don't have freedom of
Consequences.
consequence. And that's the reality is people have these consequences and it's like, no, dude, you had a choice. That was your move. That's the consequence from it. So what are the outcomes that you want in your life? Choose accordingly in every aspect. And this is the reason why people have to like really, really work on themselves. Really start to develop emotional maturity.
You know the struggle of getting out. I know what my fucked up struggle of getting out.
I wrote the book on it. I get it.
Yeah. And I love that, right? You get to a point where you can look on yourself and be like, I can make these choices and I'm in control of my emotions.
Mhm.
There's a lot of work to get to that point if you don't have that control, right? Um,
Absolutely.
you know, you get undiagnosed traumatic brain injury. You've let your drinking get out of control. You got problems at home. Those three things, that's your cocktail for self destruction of your personal life and your professional life.
All but you got to think like what happens is this is yes. I went to a two week inpatient brain clinic, tons of documented TBIs, post traumatic stress. I ran the gamut the gamut of it, right? Um, but then all the choices that I made to eat shitty food, to drink like that, to act like that, to have the bad behavior, those were all choices that I made.
Mm-hmm.
Still choices that I made. But it's and so like I like to talk about transition because how long it takes you to transition is 100% based on you and your choices. It can take some people never do. That's a choice.
Yeah, that quote. Did you see that one that was circulating? I think it's so correct and it's so sad. It said that the truth is all veterans pay with their lives. Some pay all at once and others for years.
Yeah. So for me, I really did not, don't get me wrong. Like I really think that to really fully, it was interesting to hit the time limit that I had been out longer than when I was in. You know what I mean? I think there's something to that. But I really do think that my transition was shorter in a lot of ways because of the amount of work I put in. So you can avoid all the all the self work that you're talking about, and your transition is going to take a lot longer. After my incident on the beach, I knew something had to change. I had kids, and I didn't know what that change was or needed to be, but I knew that something had to give. And that's when I threw myself into personal development and really stripping away the BS of this like fake armor that I had put on. And then this thing that I was trying to be that or what I thought other people expected me to be instead of just authentically myself and just like vulnerable and say, hey, this is where I'm at. This is who I am. I'm going to let go of all this other stuff. That's when things started to turn around. But that's a choice of going kind of like ripping your chest open and bearing your soul and be like, all right, I'm going to show some vulnerability and then go from there.
So choice, you know, you can be wildly successful and not try and help others be the same way or just, keep to yourself and not be in the public eye. Do you feel like you have an obligation to pass what you've gone through and what you're learning on to other people?
I think that each individual person is uniquely qualified to help a version 1.0 of themselves. And if they're uniquely qualified to do so, then they should. And if they don't, they're a selfish prick. When you talk about leadership, what is truly when you want to be a true leader is one that creates more leaders. It doesn't have to be through social media. It doesn't have to be on the internet. It can be in person. It could be in your local community. It can be within your own family. It can be wherever you're at. But the reality is, when there's a stage in your life that every man should get to where now he is the elder, and at that point, your job is to not create more followers or to really help people. It's to like, how do I empower you as a leader? How do I create more of you so that you can create more leaders? So I do. I think that is it's something that was lost in our society. If you look at like a very tribe, if you strip away what we have today and you go back to a very tribal environment, as you age, if you make it, right, you become one of the village elders. And then what is your role there? Your role is to create more leaders so that eventually they replace you. But we have this like decentralized society, and we have no rite of passage for young men, right, anymore. Um, and we don't have this transfer of generational knowledge and wisdom that we once had. Every man is on his own trying to figure it out for the first time, and that's the problem, right? The reality is, this wisdom should have been passed down to you, so you had a playbook, you had a rule book to play with, and you knew, like, when things get hard, this is what we do. When I'm met with adversity, this is what we do, because we have a code, we have a manifesto to follow from the elders, right? But we don't have that anymore. So every single man across the board is just continuously, every father, every husband just seems to be figuring it out for the first fucking time.
Yeah, the military, it puts you in your place, right? And I was thinking about this the other day. Like, I still feel like a kid. I do. And the healthier I get and everything like that, I still feel like a little kid, which is great. But if I wouldn't have gone into the military and learned a little bit of structure and leadership and how to converse with people and motivate and purpose, direction, and motivation, right?
Mhm.
How to mentor other people, would I still just be a little fucking kid running around without any purpose and not knowing what the fuck to do? I mean, but then I don't know. You know, how do you define that?
I mean, I don't know, dude. I look at men and I'm like, I think about the way I feel in my own head, and like, I'm still a kid myself. I don't think we ever really fully grow up. Our bodies just get older. Yeah, do we get wiser and this and that? At the end of the day, yeah. I mean, I do. I'm 43 years old. I feel like a kid. I got grown adults as children, and I still feel like a kid. So I think that that's just, um, it's interesting, right? I think that say we're 12 years old and we're looking at adults, we're looking at our parents. We see our parents that say 40 years old, late 30s, early 40s, and we have a perception of what that looks like. They look like an adult. I'm 12. I look like an adult, but we don't know what that feels like from their point of view. And I think what their point of view is like, fuck, we have no idea what we have. We're going, what we have no idea what we're doing. We're just doing it. You know what I mean? Like, there's not a whole bunch more figured out, right? I mean, obviously you get wiser with experience and age and things like that. But at the end of the day, um, I really do think that people just, I don't think we ever really grow up in our head. I mean, I've heard my friends say, dude, in my head, I still feel 25 in my brain, but then I look in the mirror and I'm like, who's this old man staring back at me? Right.
Yeah. And I hate when I see like, veterans post all the stuff that's avoidable. Oh, my. Now, if you're injured, that's one thing. Fuck, yes. I
Fuck it,
understand if
I'm
you're
injured.
injured.
I'm injured.
No, but if you're not taking all the steps to be as healthy as you can, and you're like, oh my, it hurts when I get out of bed and all this other shit. I understand if you're injured,
I don't want to
but
hear
if
it,
you're
dude. I've
like,
watched Travis Mills with no legs and no arms up in
exactly,
Oregon, and like he's living life, dude. Like, I get it. Your back hurts, your hip. Like, me too, man. Fucking life goes on, bro. You get up, you do the work. Quick thing on the injury before I'm gonna get on soapbox for a second. So you have a choice. We have a choice with injury. I did a video about this. Because I was talking to my physical therapist who I also train with, and he's like, you have a choice, right? You can do nothing, and over a period of time, you will have chronic pain and chronic injury. Okay. Or you can go like the route of like an athlete who has acute injury and acute pain. Like at the end of the day, because we had that conversation, he goes, Nick, I think really one, you got a lot of miles on your body because of what you did over a period of time, and as you've aged, they've kind of like, they're a little bit bigger than what a normal 43-year-old is, right? But he goes, but because you're so active, because you're doing jiu-jitsu 4 days a week, training with these kids, you're working on mobility, you're strength training, like, I'm training 7-8 days a week, right? Or at least 7-8 training sessions a week. So there's no off days. I just down regulate based off what that training is, right? Um, I'm always injured. Like there's always something broken, hurt, getting worked on, but it's all acute pain and acute injury. So it really comes down to this: choose your hard. So do you want to just stop and I think that's what happens. A lot of guys will stop, and what happens is they just become decrepit and they just kind of curl up. And as you see those old people, right, they just curl up, their spine curls up, and they just become decrepit, and that's it. Um, or you can go the other route, and you're going to deal with some pain, you're going to deal with some injury, but it's going to keep you mobile and it's going to keep you moving forward, right? So I think there's this idea that I can't do all these different things because I have these injuries. No, you do them in spite of it. It's not about what you can't do. Like I'm not running fucking marathons anymore. Like I'm not barely running shit anywhere. My knee would explode, right? So I'm not worried about that's not something I don't have to worry about that. I focus on the things that I can do, not the freaking three things that I can't. But so many people get wrapped around around the things that they can't do. Well, can you walk? Can you play freaking water polo? Like, can you swim? Can you know, okay, this one thing's done, but like, let me ask you this. You hurt your elbow. Are you just going to stop going to the gym?
Me? No,
You,
absolutely not.
but you're going to figure it out, right? You're like, okay, well, this
I'm
dumbbell
either
is,
going to make it worse or it's going to get better.
yeah, right. But like, and I've got video of me in like full cast and a full cast and all wrapped up and in a sling. And I'm doing, kettlebell swings with one hand and doing squats and everything. And I just keep moving forward. I think too many people focus on the few things that they can't do versus all the things that they actually have control of and they can do.
Yeah. My hip fucking hurts, right?
Yeah, sure. I
So
bet.
I go to the VA and, hey, can you guys take a look at this? Well, we understand it hurts, but maybe you have this. Okay, you guys aren't fucking part of the solution here. I'm going to
Yep.
make my hip so fucking strong that at least it won't hurt. It'll pull it together. Maybe that'll work. And it does. I can still feel that it's there,
Mhm.
but it's so strong now from starting from zero, from nothing, just doing little things to, doing those fucking exercises at the gym that nobody wants to do, spreading your legs and then
The
closing them
clamp,
with the
the
weights,
the
the clamp,
clamp, yep, the clamp.
yeah, that shit's great for you. But I did that. I started working from zero all the way up and work it. So you gotta work to find your own solution because I mean, oftentimes the VA is great if there's nothing fucking wrong with you, but you're going to have to make things work for you. And well, here's where the good side of comparison is, right? Because you're like, oh, you're talking about your buddy that's got no legs, and right? I interviewed Sergeant Major Chuck Ritter. Dude's got 2 replaced hips, 3 Purple Hearts, been shot multiple times, and that dude's training for a 50 miler right
Hey,
now
you see
as
what
we
I'm saying?
speak. So
Like,
the other side of that bell curve, the comparison is good. So you just want to be on the fucking helpful side of that comparison, not the one that's is sucking your motivation and your happiness away from you.
yeah, I can see that. Like, you look at it and go, like, what's my excuse? What is my excuse? Like, go take a look in the mirror and go, what is my excuse for anything? And the problem is it just comes down to if you're specifically talking about, so I like to lump in first responders and law enforcement because I've worked with them so long and there's so many similarities. And I'll go to bat for that community at any point. Um, right on with the military community, is they just settle. They just settle. That's it. Just settle. And that goes back to that clip. It's like, where's this fucking fire that you had, man? Where is this fire, this warrior spirit that you allegedly have? And you're like, I'm a warrior. I'm like, you're not a warrior. You're a weak piece of shit. You gave up on yourself. Where is the warrior? He's in there, but he's not showing his face right now.
Why is that though? Why do people get comfortable? Because it's easy?
Man, listen, have you ever read that? You yesterday you were talking about, I don't know, somebody else, but have you ever read the book by Napoleon Hill, Outwitting the Devil?
No.
Oh my God. Do the audiobook. This
Oh yeah,
book.
that's all. I don't know how to read.
You should have joined the Marine Corps, Nick.
Yeah, I did. They wouldn't take me because of a tattoo on the back of my neck.
So this book is, I think it was written late 1800s, 1880, something like that, 1880 something. And the audiobook's really interesting because he basically gets into a dialogue with the devil. And he gets it's like the devil, he has the devil like on a courtroom stand and he's interrogating him. And he gets the devil to confess on how he controls the populace of men, how he keeps them distracted, and and just maintains control over their life. And I think it reigns true, man. I think that 98% of the population will always be controlled by the evil side. And a lot of that has to do with the psychology of your brain. And a lot of it has to do with what's with your decision making process. And I think we talked about this yesterday, but this idea that comfort and sitting on a beach with a margarita, with an umbrella in your drink and just sitting there on a chair is the sweet life. It ain't it. It's a lie.
After 2 weeks, you'll be going insane.
Bro, 30 minutes and I'm like, I gotta go accomplish something. I mean, it's cool but that's not the reward. And I do this with so many people. If I ask people what's the one thing in their life that they're most proud of, and I'm not even gonna say anything. I want people to think about that. Whoever's listening to this, I want you to resonate on that. Think about the thing in your life that's hanging up on your wall that, or just a thing in your brain that you're like, dude, I am so incredibly proud of this particular achievement. It is never I've ran this in front of, I've done this on calls. I've done this at standing on the stage. I've called people out. Never in the years of me bringing this up has anyone ever said something that they're extremely proud of that was given to them or that came easy to them, that they didn't have to work for, restrict, sacrifice. It is always, always something that was inconvenient, that was hard, that they had to sacrifice for, that they had to restrict for, that they had to delay gratification. It's always the hard shit in your life that you put yourself out there, that you could have failed, that made you, that gave you the thing that you're most proud of. And I've heard it all, man, like the marathon, the bodybuilding show, the raising kids, the starting a business, all of it. All of it. Any level of success that somebody's going to throw up on their wall and say, I'm freaking proud of that. Never was something easy or was given to them, ever. But there's this trick. So if that's the case, if that remains true, then why on a daily basis do we always, not always, but why for the most part, why do we choose comfort over the difficult?
Choice. The problem is
Right.
choice.
So
Matrix.
so if you, yeah, exactly, the matrix. So if you start to unlock this and you start to have self-realization that, oh, wait a minute, it's actually all the hard shit I've had to sacrifice, and the things that I've had to put myself through that are my greatest accomplishments, and the thing that makes me feel the best, that gets that sense of accomplishment, then you would do that every day. And once you become self-aware of that, and that this is the reason why, like on my phone right here, like I have that saying, hard over easy. And I'm in my community, in my coaching, we have a talk all the time that we choose hard over easy, because you can choose easy now and you're going to have a lot harder later. It's going to be a lot harder, a lot more expensive later, or you can choose hard now and have an easy life later. One's coming before the other, and it's a choice.
Choice, right? So at the end, which we're coming up on, I could do the 5 questions, and I've never answered any of them on my show, but I am going to loop you in on one, and I'm going to answer it, and I want to hear what you think about it. So the last question is, what are you afraid of then, and what are you afraid of now? I don't really know if I was really afraid of much, maybe failing then, but now, as we talked about it, right? I've stopped drinking. I'm being a better person, and I came up with this. What am I afraid of now? I am afraid that the person I am isn't me, because that choice to be a shitty person still exists in a bottle or in a decision to pick up and be an asshole still. And and you said good and evil, right? It always exists. It's like Schrodinger's fucking cat,
Mm-hmm.
being a dickhead and being a good person at the same time. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm afraid that the person I am now isn't me. And I wanted to just, because that's where the conversation went. What do you think of that?
What am I afraid of, or what do you think about? What do I
No,
think
we'll
about?
get to that. What do you think of that's what I said there?
I would rip it open a little bit more with questions. I would ask you more questions like, what do you want to be? Who do you want to be? And why do you feel like you have to be somebody else?
I feel like as the person I am working on now is who I want to be. I don't, but I'm afraid of that other person
And then,
still exists,
so
because
you are not,
you can be dragged to hell real easily with a wrong decision.
I don't know about that. I think, I mean, we are all going to make decisions. We're all going to fall. Even the perfect guy falls every once in a while, man. But it's about having the self realization that, that you can fix it. But I would ask, like, what does that guy have power over you? That other, the Jekyll version of you, does he have power over you? Do you feed him? Do you feed
No,
that
no.
monster?
I think with the gym, I think it might that version of a but might be getting fed with being healthy
See,
right now instead of being unhealthy.
then I would change that. I would start diving into the why of, why do I go train? Why do I want to become strong? You know, we made a joke yesterday, right? It's like, stronger people are harder to kill. I truly believe that. So get
It,
strong.
fuck yeah.
But I refused that this to give power to this thing that that I don't feed. I just refuse. Like, you don't get to be in charge, bro. Period. You just don't get to be in charge. I'm the captain of this ship. Period. And that's it. You don't get a vote. You just don't get a vote. And you know what? I'm going to extend that to other people in my life. No one else gets a vote either. No one gets a vote on my decisions or my directions or how I show up or how I treat people. Ain't happening. Not anymore.
But they used to.
Unfortunately, yeah. I allowed people to get a vote because of what I felt like. And we talked about this yesterday as well, is like this idea that you have these rules because if you came from this community, you have these rules that you're supposed to follow, what you can say and what you can't say. And I'm not talking about like security stuff. It's not what I'm talking about. How you act, the clothes that you wear, the circles that you surround yourself, your hobbies. I mean, give me a fucking break, dude. Like, who says this? Based off what? But it's a thing. It's a thing, the community, like you're supposed to be this thing. And I gave all that shit up, man. I'm gonna be 100% authentically me. And if you don't like it, you don't have to. Guess what? You don't have to. You don't have to talk to me. You don't have to follow me. You don't have to listen to my shit. There's a lot of people that do.
Do you think that's what's the right word? The highest level of self worth is when you just you're
Love
working for
yourself.
you, by you, through you, and that
I think the highest level of self-worth is when you love yourself. When you truly love who you are and you love yourself as a person. You can't love yourself, how can anybody else love you? Truly. Like if you can't love yourself, what's wrong? Why can't you love yourself? You don't love yourself enough to forgive yourself? I was having a conversation with a dear friend of mine, Matt Vincent, and we were talking about, like, I think we have two people that we should check in on, that should weigh our decisions and weigh who we, if we're on the right track, if we're proud of what our decisions are. One is the child version of myself, right? Would the child version of myself look at me today and go, damn, right on, I'm proud of you, right? Or you're cool. And
yeah, I had a guest that brought this. Go ahead, yeah.
then the other version is the 85, 90-year-old version of yourself on the deathbed going, right on, kid. You're doing a good job. You're being a good man. You're making good decisions. You're treating people the right way. Like, I'm proud of you. That's all that really matters. Is the kid in you proud of you? Does he approve? And does the old man approve?
Who'd you get that from?
It was a conversation I was having with my good friend of mine, Matt Vincent.
Okay, I think Taylor Kavanaugh said the same thing on the show the other day. 7 and 70, he said. I think it
Yeah,
was just a
the
couple days
general
ago.
concept, right? Yeah,
Yeah, but that's good. But and it still goes back to you, right?
100%.
You're the center of everything, whether it's past you or future you.
Doesn't
Um,
matter.
a lot of growing pain in between there, though, of getting to that point and coming to that realization that you don't need to make
But
anybody
you
else, or
could,
you can't even make anybody else happy if you
but
don't make yourself happy.
anybody could, no matter where they're at, can look at themselves, take a look at that mirror, and then ask those questions. And if you're not where you need to be, what does the person look like that it needs to be? And then from there, what are the habits of the guy that you're supposed to be like? If this is the person that I'm going to be, what is his habits? What is his beliefs? What is his values? I'm going to adopt this person's habits, beliefs, and values. And then through osmosis of just choosing making those choices, you become that person. So if it, like, and so this is what I talk about in the group. So who do I want to be in 6 months to a year? Okay, let's identify that person. Let's create this avatar. What is his habits? All right. Does that guy hit the snooze button? Does this version of you in 12 months, does he hit the snooze button? No? Well, then you don't hit the snooze button anymore. Does he eat shit? Does he drink? Does he vape? Does he gamble? Does he look at pornography? No. Well, then you don't do that anymore. You start emulating the habits of the person that you want to become. And then all of a sudden, you're that dude.
Yeah, pretty simple. Do
Simple
you
to
think
say.
it's very easy to say, but there's a lot of, experience behind saying that and a lot of fucking bumps in the road. But, I ask this quite a bit, but do you think you're doing anything that anybody can't do? Like,
No. Fuck no, dude. I am not some special fucking unicorn butterfly guy. Like, I'm not special. You know what I mean? Like, there is no special sauce. There is no fucking secret. Like, there isn't. Anybody can do what I've done. Like, I'm a 2-time convicted felon, high school dropout that turned his life around, came from with nothing. I have no rich uncles. You know what I mean? Like this was through work.
And here's the real world application of that. 4 5 months ago, I had nothing. There was no lesser known operators. There's no anything, no social media presence, no followers on YouTube. And I kept seeing you're one of them and a couple other people. It's like, fuck, I'm in the same community as these guys. I want to do that. And then I fucking did it. And if I didn't know how, I Googled shit or I asked AI. I was like, how do I do this? How do I fucking do this? I want to be better at interviewing. Well, I got to interview people. Well, let's do long interviews, 3 hours. My usual podcast, 3 hours long. I get a lot of practice there. You just fucking work. You be so good at, work so hard at something, you'll get good at it eventually, even if you're fucking terrible.
Nick, this is my point to the clip that everybody's pissed off about. The same traits, the same work ethic that you took that you had to get through selection in the Q course and become a Green Beret and to show up in your first team is the same values and the same effort it's going to take to be great at anything else, to be successful
Absolutely.
at anything
But
else.
you got to, people want to be babied. They,
like, sorry, bro, like,
because
that's not the way life
because
is.
nobody does anything unless they have to or want to. And
Well, and that's where it is. Like, what do you want to do? If you want to be a lazy piece of shit, then don't complain. I got no problem with that, dude. Like, everybody can
I
choose
love
their
to,
own adventure, dude. At the end of the day, like, if you want to be lazy, you don't want to amount to anything. Your level of success is one thing or the other. It doesn't really matter. Like, just don't do it. But don't complain. But listen, don't come at me complaining that you don't have enough money, you don't have the car that you want, you can't buy the shoes that you want, you can't join the group, you can't do this, you can't do that. Don't complain about that.
as a big complainer myself, but I was, I had a successfully a failure of a career. I'm a big complainer, but I feed off that. You know, when everybody was sucking at team week or whatever the fuck, I was complaining my ass off, and people would fall away, and I would somehow get stronger. So there is a bell curve to that whole complaining thing, but yeah, most people it doesn't work out for them. All right, man. Got 5 questions for you, and then I'll cut you loose. Got a few minutes left. What is your response to thank you for your service?
You're welcome, man. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Nice and simple.
People get up, like, it makes people feel weird. Here's the deal. When somebody tells you that, they have no concept of what that even means, really. But it is the best that they can do out of their own guilt, out of their own whatever. Because you got to think, a lot of people that could have joined the military and that during, freaking 20 plus years in conflict just didn't, right? They just didn't. And a lot of people that I know do hold some guilt around that. Like, they know that they could have been of service. Now, whether it was their beliefs or not, it's not for everybody. I don't judge anybody for not serving. Dude, I don't judge anybody what they did in the military. If you were 0.4% of the population who joined the military, good on you. If you didn't, hey, bro, good on you. I guarantee that you have some sort of value you can offer the world. You know what I mean? I don't judge anyone for that. Never judge a man. So, when somebody says that, I know that a lot of people get weird about it, but honestly, man, it's like the very littlest thing that they can do to just say that they appreciate you. And you know what? Don't knock that. Don't take that away from them. Just say you're absolutely welcome, man, and say thanks for saying that. Appreciate that. Yeah.
What's the one characteristic that sets operators apart from the conventional forces?
Um, they're making a very, very serious choice to better themselves and to move up. It's like, yeah, we're an all volunteer force, but there's something to be said about a person who is going to continually make a choice to be there and to I want to even say for like the glory, but to achieve this level of greatness. And it never stops, it never ends. And what I typically see with the people from that community is They're just chasing to see if they can hit the ceiling. And what I want to and the biggest thing that I want these guys to understand is at that trait doesn't need to stop in the military. There is no ceiling, there is no point of arrival. Greatness never stops. Continue to develop yourself, continue to push the needle every single day and in your life. Plan and execute like you did on the team your whole life. The best, the worst thing you can do is say that I peaked in the military. The best that I ever was in the military. The best is always yet to come.
What's the one moment of your career that you wish you could go back and relive or redo, and it won't change where you are now?
I wouldn't. Not one. I almost said there was a couple points that I would say that I would. And then right when I was about to say it, I was like, nah, I can't. There's no redos. There's no reliving. It's all gone. It's only forward. I can't even wrap my head around going in the past for any reason whatsoever. No.
What's the best piece of advice that you received during your career?
Um, this is going to be an opposite thing. Um, you were talking about your team sergeant. I had a, I had a team chief. We call him team chief. Um, tell me who was technically junior to me. But I was the ops chief. He was the team chief. And he said, you know what your problem is, Nick? You care too much and you work too hard. He goes, look at me. I do the bare minimum. I don't give a shit. And I keep getting promoted and they keep taking care of me. And I was like, he said that. And I was like, you know, you're right. And at that moment, I was like, this place is no longer for me.
Time to go.
It was time to go. Outside of that, the only other piece is my when I was in Force Recon, my platoon sergeant told me knowledge is power. And I always believed in execution, but really, and it's just not. And now I look at that quote that he told me, Phil Thome, um, great dude, great homie. We were in the same platoon for 3 years. He was a platoon sergeant, and then he became my ops chief when I took over a platoon. And he told me that, and it's really stuck with me for a long time. And now I've realized that it's not even about just the job; it's about self mastery and wisdom and being educated on a lot of on everything that you can be, because the more that you are educated, the more that you create self mastery around subjects, the more that you can be a better leader, and you can drive people in the direction of their success, where they want to go. But if you don't have the knowledge, you can't help people. So like over the last, 20 plus years, I've really, really poured into educating myself on psychology and business and personal development and financial literacy. And I've just become the white belt. And I just want to be the student of life for the rest of my life. I want to be 90 years old and still learning. And that is just, and I've told this to him in the past, that is just stuck with me like glue. So those are the two, the positive and a negative.
Fun, man. What were you afraid of then, and what are you afraid of now?
Afraid of then was definitely not becoming successful, um, or not being enough. I was afraid I was never going to be enough because, like you said, you are surrounded by giants of men, right? Like just absolute. Like I look at the guys that I served with, and I feel, and I believe this. Like I feel like I didn't hold a candlestick to them. Don't get me wrong. I had some very interesting traits and value, right? Like I was able to do things that not many people could do. But then when I looked at them, I'm like, these guys are what? These are superheroes, man. This is what comic books and movies are made out of, these guys, right? Like they're just giants among men. So I felt like I would never fully live up. That's what I was afraid of. Now, what I'm afraid of is thinking about being on my deathbed and not realizing, how do I word this the best way? Being on my deathbed and not becoming the version of man that I was created to become, leaving something on the table. Like I believe every man was created to become great. And through distraction and all the other BS, I feel like it keeps men from their potential. And I want to lay on my deathbed knowing that I reached my potential, my God created potential.
Well, sounds like you're doing a hell of a job getting there. I
One
appreciate I
1% better every single day, Nick. That's all we do.
I appreciate you taking the time to come on to my little show here.
Yeah, man.
Um, you got anything for me, man?
No, man, keep hammering, dude. Keep hammering. Your first one sucks. Your 100s might suck a little less, and your thousands is great. It's like how many, like I remember my friend of mine told me, like when I started my YouTube channel, he's like, how fast can you get to 1,000 videos?
That, that's what I'm trying. So I'm doing my best.
You,
Practice,
you,
practice, practice.
you just keep going, dude. And you know what? This thing might turn into something else. It might get shut down. But the thing is, everything that I have in my life has come from something else by executing. So you just keep executing, and then you fall in love with the journey, man. And the next thing you know, you look back, you're like, holy shit, what a wild ride.
Plan, man.
Yeah, man.
Again, Nick, I really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah,
Bye,
brother.
everybody.